What is up YouTube, and welcome to this A Quiet Place 2 video. The movie was a superb sequel to the surprise hit of the original. The monsters of the first were sudden, fast and incredibly original, but clearly inspired by xenomorphs and even horror villains. But where the heck did these evil little critters come from? Now, the first movie was pretty darn light on the details, save for some news clippings and John Krasinski's Lee doing some observational analysis on them. Now, John, the absolute legend behind the movie as well as starring in this movie, said this of the monsters around the time the first one came out on the Empire podcast. The idea behind all this is that they're definitely aliens and they're an evolutionary perfect machine. So the idea is if they grew up on a planet that had no humans and no light, then they don't need eyes, they can only hunt by sound. They also develop a way to protect themselves from everything else, so that's why they're bulletproof and all these things. I had to make it make sense. I needed the rules of the monster to adhere as tightly to the rules of the family. The family we had set up all these incredible rules, and I needed the monster to not just be convenient. And the other idea was that the armor is also the reason why they were able to survive kind of the explosion of their planet and survive on these meteorites, because they've evolved to be bulletproof. Until they open up themselves, they are vulnerable. They're completely invulnerable. However, we would not see the monsters arrive on this planet until the sequel, which came out recently. I have a full breakdown of that on my channel of A Quiet Place 2, and if you did wish to check that out, that would be pretty awesome. And do give this video a like if you enjoyed it, and do subscribe with notifications on so you never miss a video. In that movie, we see the meteor crash and a brief glimpse of day one is shown, where we can see society collapse almost instantaneously. The location of this franchise is actually not the ground zero, but these monsters hit multiple different countries. Krasinski confirmed in interviews that the Death Angels, as they are also known, came from the meteors that landed, which was almost actually fragments of their planet. They landed all over the world, including Mexico, Peru and Shanghai, also being defeated by these evil things from across the stars. And that makes sense if a huge bit of a planet like that would fall on Earth. Even just a small fragment would split up across different parts of the world. The aliens are fast, can hear incredibly far away sounds, and have impenetrable armor, which the army were unable to pierce even with bombs. Of course, this was developed on the harsh realities of their own planet, which did fall to Earth. While their hearing is their power and the world had to go silent lest they be killed, they have to open up their armor to hear, and Evelyn and her family actually realized that the reverb from a hearing aid and microphone made a frequency that disrupts the hearing of these monsters, which they absolutely hate. This would be used by Reagan and her family as a way to stun and open up the aliens' armor, which they use to great effect. Now, the second movie follows her as she intends to broadcast this signal via the radio. Now, if they can work out a way to actually constantly broadcast this signal, then they can mop up all of these creatures. But there is one problem with that. While they did succeed in actually doing that, the signal of this actual radio station can only go so far. It didn't reach the farmhouse that they were at, and it's unclear how far it can actually reach. But I'd imagine they are able to piggyback that at some point and really send it out across the world. And maybe they could send it out on an emergency broadcast system as well, depending on how far they wish to go with that story. Now, there is also one bizarre thing about the aliens, which means that you have a bit of a warning when they're going to arrive. In the first movie, when the aliens are about to attack, a small bit of electrical interference precedes them. However, I imagine a larger concentration would trigger a bigger interference, as we saw that in a newspaper clipping, as Wall Street had a serious electrical problem. And at the start of A Quiet Place 2, when Lee and Reagan are hiding in the pub, a girl is trying to reach her mother and having electrical interference problems. Naturally, the actual cell towers could have been overloaded, but I like to think that these things landing has absolutely messed with everything. However, you will note that TVs and radios work, so An interesting theory is that the aliens interfere with digital tech only, but that doesn't explain lights going weird. The monsters also cannot swim, which means islands are safe, but in news clippings it seems that London has also fallen, so I guess a meteorite landed in the UK. RIP. Now, we have a spin-off coming, as well as John hinted that a part 3 is at least being thought about by himself, so I do wonder if we will see more of what things are and what they actually did in the first days of the attack, and if anyone has actually managed to go Day of the Dead and get one and actually do an autopsy on it. Now, a military base is near the location of the town in the prequel scene in A Quiet Place 2, so it would be interesting if each one of these meteorites landed in places of influence and power on Earth. However, their sentience does seem limited to just base nature of killing, and they are more indicative of a group of animals that are protecting something or having a single hive mind. So they don't even eat their prey, which is absolutely crazy. So they're getting their sustenance elsewhere, and they are merely attacking for dominance, and that is it, or even protecting. But let me know what you think down below. What do you think they are? What are your theories and thoughts on them? Did you like A Quiet Place 2? Let me know down in the comments and we'll have a discussion about that awesome movie. And if you liked the video, please do drop a like down below and subscribe with notifications on if you want more from us. And I'll see you soon, and goodbye.